before we begin, I just wanted to say out loud that we're here to learn, not like a dialogue or monologue, but we're here to learn as well. All of us have come here in the spirit of learning, and it's raining outside. You might as well fall asleep, but please bear with us after lunch. We have been working across sectors, Lucian and I have been working across sectors in different contexts, and not least Meghalaya is a different context for us. So we want your help to get the context right. So we know the technicalities of M&E, but you are the people who bring the perspective into the principles that we're, the fundamentals that we're talking about, right? So we want you to be engaged in our conversation and learn together. We are very new to this context. We know M&E, but we don't know about that. So please bear with us while we walk you through the basics of M&E, fundamentals of M&E, but we also want to learn right? So why don't we begin? Let's look at the questions that we have here and show a raise of hand so that we get to know you better and just navigate our conversations accordingly. The first question: have you ever attended a training on voluntary evaluation? How many of you have attended a training on voluntary evaluation? Training, capacity building, workshops, lectures, etc. Right? Okay. Were you ever engaged in developing a M&E plan or MEL plan before? How many of you have? Okay. Have you developed projects or monitoring evaluation indicators before? How many of you developed indicators before? Monitoring indicators, evaluation indicators. Okay. And have you conducted, how many of you conducted data analysis? Alright, yeah. So I get the layer for that. So we have been doing all of this. So we are going to, by the end of this session, today's session, you will have a basic understanding of what these questions mean and how to go about doing it. Right? So let's start with a quiz, a simple quiz participatory game, let's say. And the answers I will tell you later, but just guess which could be the potential questions, potential answers for the questions that we have here. Okay? So I'll begin the first one. And please feel free to guess answers if you know. It doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. We're just going to learn something about voluntary evaluation. So the first question is: which of the following should not be a criteria for a good research project? Option 1 is: a good project demonstrates the abilities of the researcher. B, a research criteria is that it should be completed. It is dependent on the completion of the other projects. The third one is: research demonstrates the integration of different fields of knowledge. And the fourth one is: develops the skills of the researchers. Which of these is true and which of these are false? That's it. According to you. A is false. Okay. Anyone else? Think of a research. What would research entail? And while you're thinking about research, think of these things and tell me which of these is right and which of these is wrong. Any guesses? All are true? Okay. Any guesses from there? Here? Okay, let's move on to the other one. The answer is you're right. You're right. The B is something which is not very, it's something which we do not really consider when we think about research. Yes, of course, there are resources, etc., etc. But what research does, what you have to focus on is A, C, and D. As a researcher, you develop skill as you do research. A, and abilities of the researcher, because you are the one who's designing, right? So you need to have expertise. A, that's and C is it demonstrates the integration of research. It demonstrates it has to be complementary to other fields. We have to integrate learning from other fields, etc. So these are some of the elements of doing a research, good research work. Second, this is a case study. Let's say cyberbullying at work is a growing threat to employee job satisfaction. Researchers want to find out why people do this and how they feel about it. What would be the primary purpose of this study? By looking at the case, what do you think this research is going to do? Is it going to be a descriptive analysis? Is it going to be a prediction? Is it going to be an exploration, or is it going to be an explanation? Just read the first sentence, the second point, and tell me what would be the objective of doing this research. Is it to describe? Is it to predict? Is it to explore? Or is it to explain? Explain? Explore, explain? It could be both, no? Yeah, but mostly, if you look at it, it could be explained, because we already know there is a hypothesis. There is a cyberbullying at work which is happening. We want to know the reasons for it. So, primarily it be an explanation of why this is happening. Got it? Which research method is a bottom-up approach to research? Deductive, explanatory, inductive, exploratory. Bottom-up. Sherlock Holmes. Have you seen Sherlock Holmes before? What does Sherlock Holmes use? What method? Deduction, right? Alright. How much confidence should you place in a single research study? This is a conversation that we keep having. That you've done this, but yeah, it doesn't work in my context. It's just one study. What do I get out of it? Right? So, the question is, how much confidence should you put in a single research study? You should completely trust. Neither A nor B. The A is you should trust research findings after different researchers have replicated the same. Which one? A? Yeah. There's something called validity in research, right? We have to establish the validity. So, yes, in some context, you can trust the research if you are project specific, if you are not making generalized kind of a statement. But if you want to generalize it to a larger population or to some other context, you always should have corresponding or findings which corroborate to each other and also establish the validity of it. Okay. When should monitoring be ideally conducted? When? Should monitoring be done every 6 months, every year, once in 3 years? It depends. It depends. Alright. Next question. What are indicators? Are indicators questions? Is it a unit of information? Is it a meter to depict change from A to B? And does indicator change over time? Can it change over time, indicators? If you are to give me one response, which one would that be? What is an indicator? How many for A? How many for B? Okay. How many for C? And D? The answer to this is B. It's a unit of information. Again, we talked about monitoring. Let's talk about evaluation. When should evaluation be conducted? Every 6 months, every year, once in 3 years. Again, it depends on the length of the project, right? If it is a project for 6 months, then end
And there are different kinds of evaluation that you can do. There is no set formula to that. Okay, this is the answer that evaluations of any kind want to know. Right? So you tell me, this is a case study where we're given, this project has already been implemented and we want to see what happened because of the project. So we are doing an evaluation. So what do you think is the change that happened because of this particular program? Program is already implemented, it's done, we are doing an evaluation. Now we want to see change because of the program. What percentage change do you think has the program brought about? What would be the answer here? Sorry? Why would you say that? Can you give an explanation to the group?
Do a simple deduction. You see that 22% was the original numbers. And then after 3 years, it's 59%. So if you take the corresponding numbers, after deduction becomes 30%.
So 59 minus 32, that is the answer that you are saying. Does anybody differ or has any other views? The change because of your program is? Any explanation? Why are we saying? So that's correct. If you're doing a simple deduction, then 13 is that's the answer. But what we are trying to really see is whether your change is because of the program that you implemented, right? So this is something we're going to talk about in the next sessions, today, tomorrow. Why are we saying that 13% is not the right answer? Okay, we'll come to that. All right. Okay, before we begin, I want you to tell me what are the different projects or sectors that you are currently working on. I'll write it down. I have to go all the way there if I want to use the bigger board. But can you tell me what are the different sectors that you work at? What are the different themes that you're working at, schemes, etc., etc.? I can give you an example. I work in climate change. I work in livelihoods. I work in health. I work in finance, inclusive finance. These are the projects that I'm currently working on. I want you to tell me what are the projects that you are working on, sector-wise or otherwise, domains. Sorry? Child protection? Oh. Sorry? Okay. Okay. What else from this side? Sorry? Urban mobility. What else? Sorry? MP lads? Okay. MP lads. You'll have to explain what this is. I'm not aware of it. Maybe I am, I don't know the abbreviation. What else? Okay, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else here? Okay. What else? Others? Back there? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we have all of these sectors that we are working on, right? It's a diverse sectors. If you ask each one of you, you'll be at least working in 2 sectors. 2 into, let's say we are 20 of us here. So 40 different things that we are looking at right now, at present, at this moment. What is the one thing that is common from a research point of view? What is one thing that you work with daily? People, yes. There's people, what else? What else? You work with people, yeah? Sorry? Data, of course. What else? What else? People and data. Bang on. Right. What else? Delivery, yeah. Sorry? Development, yes. What else? Give me one more. And we'll work with the 5. Yeah? You have something? Sorry? Goal? Yes. See, we don't need to teach you research. You already know it. Research is nothing but people, data, delivery, development, goals. I will explain why it is. Let me just, I wish I had a bigger board. Let me put it this way. Okay, we said people, right? And today morning, Professor Shivakumar talked about what? He talked about working in different geographies. He talked about context, didn't he? He worked in Manipur, he worked in Sikkim, and he also talked about how we have so much to learn because we come from different backgrounds, we have so much different context, right? So what research, we are talking about research, one of the big things, one of the foremost things that we are concerned about is the context, right? Context is nothing but people, could be ecology, it could be politics, it could be social issues, social issues of social development, so many other things, right? So when we talk about, when you say research, the first thing we talk about is context. And context is nothing but all of these things in the context of people, first thing, right? What was the other thing that you talked about? Data. What is data? Data is nothing but information, right? Isn't it? We need information about people with disabilities, what they're doing, what they're up to, what are their livelihoods like, what are the challenges that they're facing. We need to talk about data in Narega, how much jobs have been generated, how many people are working, how many people are getting their job cards, how many people are actually working, clocking their time, etc., etc. All of this is what? Information. That is data. So now I want you to tell me, when we talk about data, what are the different kinds of data that we deal with in day-to-day life? Yes, primary and secondary data. There is primary data. There is secondary data. What do we mean by primary data? He's done his homework. First-hand information, right? This is, I am talking to you. I am not talking a report about you. That is primary data. So, and secondary would be what then? It's the opposite of it. You source the data from some other MIS, or you read the report, or you download the data from somewhere else. You're not actually talking to people about the data. You're getting the data from somebody else. Now, this is a source of data, something called source of data, right? Now, tell me, what are the types of data? That was the first question that I asked. We know there are two sources of data, one is primary, one is secondary. But you can get different type of data. The nature of data that you get from either primary or secondary data would be different. What are your guesses? Sorry? Yes, qualitative data. And then quantitative data, yes. What else? Mix of both. Right? We have both qualitative and quantitative. Data can either be purely qualitative, purely quantitative, or a mix of both. Okay? Okay, we'll talk about it. I mean, these are, I'm just throwing some buzzwords. When you hear research, I'm not going to monitoring and evaluation right now. Monitoring and evaluation is a niche kind of an approach. Research is broad. So let's start from broad and then come down to monitoring and evaluation. Okay, we said context, we said data, and we talked about something which is very important, the last point. What do we want to achieve? By collecting so much data, talking to so many people, contextualizing it, what do we want to do? What is the goal? Or in other terms, what is the objective? What is the research? Why are we doing this? Why do research? What is the goal? Right? So, in research lingo, goal goal have different nomenclatures. If you have to break down the goal is like, okay, this is, I want to eliminate poverty from the face of the earth. Right? That is the goal. That I want to become a millionaire. That's the goal. But if I want to become a millionaire, I have to attain certain what? Objectives. Right? Certain objectives. So, goal can further be disaggregated. If I'm going to remove this. Objective or objectives. Right? Objective, a main objective is this. My goal is to become a millionaire. For that, I need to have a 500 million wala company. Right? That is the objective. And for that, what do I have to do? I have to then plan the process, right? How do I own a $500 million company? What do I need to do? I need to have people, I need to have resources, I need to have offices. What are these activities? I need to have a plan in. And so what do I do first? If I, for example, let's say I want to become a millionaire. I've set my goal. The first step towards becoming a millionaire is I need to have a Fortune 500. But in order to build a Fortune 500 company, what all do I need? Yeah? You need resources. What kind of resources do you need? All of that. Yes. Okay, and then what will you do with the resource? You invest, right? You invest that resource. So you have people, you invest, and then what do? You see results. You hope to see results, right? So in research term or a monitoring and evaluation term, this process is called to have a logical model. I will tell you what logic model is. It's very simple an exercise. In order for you to reach your objectives, you need to have resources, you need to have activities, you need to invest. Once you do that, you will see results, and that results will lead you to your either objective and then contribute to your goal. Okay, so in research term, there is called input, input, process, One more question. Why did I put goal and objective or outcome or objective separately? Why didn't I just say input, process, output, goal? Yeah, that's true. What else? Outcome you can directly influence. Remember that question where we had what is the change that your program brought about? Right? I didn't ask what's the change. I asked what is the change that your program or your project brought about. That means our project, our activity, our project, our inputs, all of these resources are going to definitely see the goals or the objectives happening, right? There is a likelihood that if all of these things are kind of implemented in a way which it should be, then it directly leads to this objective. But goal is something which have so many other things put in place. I want to become a millionaire, but there is Elon Musk, there is Jeff Bezos, there is some other millionaires who are also trying to reach there, right? So there are other factors which is outside of your control, which this mechanism here will not be able to contribute towards, right? So what you can do is aim to reach this. To give a social sector example, if you want to eliminate poverty, can your project eliminate poverty? Gone. 0% poverty. Can you do that? But our programs always have a goal of poverty reduction, doesn't it? Right? What you do is you aim for an objective. The objective would be, let's increase the income. Increase in income does not mean that you will reduce poverty. What it can do is it can contribute towards reduction in poverty. So you'll have to understand that when you are planning a project, when you are doing research, you obviously have a goal. The goal is SDGs, we talked about in the morning. Meghalaya wants to reach the SDG milestones, right? Within SDG also there are several different objectives. That is what we aim towards. Objective 1 will have this much improvement, this much improvement. Eventually, both of these will contribute towards the larger goal, right? So when we are planning for a research or planning for an evaluation, monitoring, whatever, these are some of the things that you need to take care of. Goal is something that you contribute towards. This is what you aim. Basic difference. Understood? Any questions here? I will go into details of what input, processes, output, outcome entail. But clear on goals and objectives? Right? If you are to, for example, tomorrow you have to come up with a terms of reference or an RFP for one of the projects that you're working on. You want an external person to evaluate. So when you're drafting an RFP, what you will give is the objective is to reduce poverty, but what the evaluation wants to know is whether increase in income has happened, because this is what we were targeting and we were hoping that this will contribute towards goal. So your scope of work, your objectives has to be aligned in this manner. Okay. So what are the research buzzwords that we learned today? Can somebody summarize? What was the first one? Context, yes. Data, goal, and objectives and results, right? And then placement of this in the logic model. Okay? Alright. Keep this in mind, okay? I'm like rushing through this because we are going to talk about this with examples, but these are some of the terminologies that we will be using over and over again, so that's why I'm kind of going through it right now. So keep those in your mind, put it in your notes, and let's say today we are going to start a project. For example, Shikha and I work in health, so yeah, that's a common kind of a thing. So everybody comfortable with health? Is there anyone here who does not work in health? How many people? The majority of people work in health? No? Majority of people work in livelihoods? Livelihoods? Narega? Everybody knows about it? Give me one sector which you guys know the most about. Rural development, within rural development, it's a very broad thing. So, anyone, okay, one of you volunteer, we'll take that example. No? Okay, I'll give you an example of my project. Okay, let's go with my project. Give me one example. I don't want to use my example, it'll be out of context. So let's talk about something which you guys are doing. Give me one project. Education? Okay, alright. What do you do in the education project? What is it about? Can you tell me a little bit about your project? Why are you working in this project? Why education? What is the basic problem in the education sector? Come on, you guys, you know more than I do. I am just an evaluator. You guys do all the work. What is the problem in the education sector? Dropouts? Okay. Let's say there is high dropouts. Right? What do you want to achieve? This is a problem. Through your intervention, through your project, what do you now want to achieve? We know there is a problem. There is a basic problem that students don't come to schools after 5th. Female students are dropped out because they are meant to work at home. They drop out of government schools because they want to go to private schools. There's so many reasons for dropouts, right? What is it that you are wanting to change? Let's say, what is the what is the opposite of dropout? Sorry? Retention, right? So when you think of a project, the first thing that comes to your mind is, what is your problem? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Isn't it? If I didn't have any problems with education, everybody is going to school, everybody is, in the classrooms, there's high level of retention. I don't need a project on education. But I see there is a gap. I see there is a challenge. That is why I see there is a problem. That is why I do. For this to become this, I have to curate a project, don't I? Right? That's why you do projects. Okay, let's keep in mind. This is the first element of a project. So now tell me, you know the problem, you know there is a solution, which is there should be retention. How will you go beyond this? How will you go about implementing this? What are the things that you need to have in place for this project to be successful? Free schooling? Free. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to write it here. Infrastructure, yeah. Skills. What else? Okay, so I'm going to call these, all of these, I'm going to call resources, right? You have a problem, you know the solution, but you need resources to make that happen. The second element of a project, or rather let's say third, let's call this the second, and let's call this the third. The third element of a project when you're designing a project is resources. Now you have resources also. What will you do next? You've got the money, you've got a grant from, let's say, the Bill Gates Foundation, Melinda Gates Foundation. What will you do? You've got all the resources. You have, money to give them free schooling. You have built infrastructure. You have upskilled the capacities of the teachers. What will you do? You implement it, right? With the resources, you implement it. But the question is, with 30 million US dollars, can you implement this project for 30 years? Can you? You can't. So, the resources what you have is limited. That is why a project always has a start and it has an end. All of our projects, irrespective of whether you work with the government, I work with the private sector, whatever, all of us has limitations, especially with regards to resources and right? Okay. So, a project, to summarize, is nothing but a set of activities. You're talking about doing training, you're talking about building infrastructure, you're talking about providing them extra support. It's a set of activities implemented with a limited resource within a specific period of time to attain an objective. Okay, simple. Now, if somebody asks you what is a project, there are only 4 things that you need to keep in mind. A project needs to have an objective. It is limited by resources and time, and there are a set of activities that needs to be implemented within this resource, limited amount of resource or limited amount of time. So this is nothing but this is the basic fundamental definition of a project. And one key takeaway from today's session is that monitoring and evaluation cannot happen in isolation. It is always embedded between this project, right? Monitoring evaluation, we can't plan monitoring evaluation where there is no project, right? So this is the basic thing that I want you to take away, that when you talk about monitoring, evaluation, learning, there is always an element of project that you are talking about in a higher scale. Cool? Okay, let's go now. Let's go one by one. Here we talked about dropouts, which is a core problem. In this chart figure, we're talking about poverty. There is a high level of poverty. What we do is reduction in poverty. That's actually a goal, but I mean sometimes it's objective also. But you understand the point, right? So there is always a problem, and an opposite of that is. You have a question? No? Okay. So whenever we do a project, what we do is a situation analysis. What is wrong? This is wrong, right? This is high level of absenteeism happening, high level of dropouts happening. So this is something called in research lingo, we call it situational analysis. And then we do the situation analysis to see what the problem is. What is the possible cause of the situation or problem? Here, what would be the problem? I mean, if you are to do a problem analysis, what would be the problem analysis here? We know there is high dropout. That is the situation right now. In school, we are not able to retain students. What would be the problem analysis here? Is it because they are moving to private school? Is it because the level of education that we are giving, it's not right? The perceived quality of the parents, it's not, parents think that government schools can't provide a level of education, or is it something else? Is there out migration happening? Is there a number of reasons? There could be a number of reasons. So we do a problem analysis. Why? Again, because we have limited time, we have limited resource, and we cannot hope to eliminate each and every problem. With the limited amount and limited time, we can only say, okay, this is a problem, but I can only intervene in building infrastructure. I can only build in building capacities of teachers. I can only invest in educating the parents about schooling. So there are so many things that could go wrong, but then you have to do a problem analysis to see what is the most significance, and with the budget and resources and timeline I have, which is the area that I can make a dent on, right? So that's why you do a problem analysis. And then project identification is the third bit, where identify problem the project can address. Like I said, it can be plethora of things, but with my resources, I can only do infrastructure, right? So you identify a specific problem to be addressed. And then you design with the resources, with the timelines, with the problems that you've identified, with the objectives, you design a project. And it includes identification of strategy. What are the strategies that I'm going to work with? Who are the people I'm going to work with? Do I need to work with school teachers? Do I need to work with the government administration? Do I need to work with the municipality? Do I need to work with XYZ people? Do I need educators? So all of this is in the fourth stage of project cycle, you plan for all of these. And then the fifth stage, you implement and then you monitor. I'll come to monitoring, but fifth stage is what is called implementation and the last one is evaluation. You invested your resources, your timeline is exhausted now. Now at the end of 3 years, what is the result that we have achieved? In order to ascertain that, we do evaluation. So in a project, there is always an objective, resources, timelines, and set of activities, and these are some of the things that you plan throughout the project cycle. And I'm sure if you reflect back on the current projects that you are working on, you will find all of these elements present in the project that you're currently working on. Okay? There's nothing new, it's just that we've given names and nomenclature to it. Alright. I don't know whether you can see that. We talked about project. Now let's talk about where does MEL fall in this project cycle. Any guesses? I gave a hint in the last slide. We know there are 5 stages of project cycle. Where does monitoring and where does evaluation fall? Or where does it start and where does it stop? Okay, let me put this another way. How many of you know what a baseline is? Baseline? When these are just now we talked about these 3 things, right? Stages of a project cycle. What came after this? If you were paying attention, you would know. What was the 4th? Sorry? Monitoring. Wasn't it? You know what the problem is. You know what problem you are going to address. You put all your resources, do all the activities, that is implementation. Once you implement, what you do? You monitor, right? What do you monitor? Sorry? Yeah, but is it monitoring or is it evaluation, baseline? Evaluation? How many of you agree that baseline is a part of evaluation? And how many of you say that baseline is a part of monitoring? Evaluation? Okay, let's say if baseline is a part of evaluation, what forms monitoring? What do you monitor? Yes, that's right. But what is it that you specifically monitor? Okay, yeah. I mean, you're getting to it. You monitor activities. You monitor how much money have I spent in 6 months of implementation? How much money have I spent in 1 year of implementation? You monitor resources as well, and whether the money that I'm spending, it is resulting into these activities or vice versa. Right? I'm doing these activities, that is why these resources are being exhausted. What else do you? You also monitor something which is called, right? So these are 3 things that you should remember when you're talking about monitoring. Yes, you do monitor results, but you most certainly monitor the activities and resources. Now let's talk about evaluation. I will tell you why I only said output. Okay, just keep this in mind, why I only said output, not objectives or outcomes, etc. etc. Okay. Now, if you are monitoring activities, resources and output, what are you assessing here? Results in the form of outcome, impact, and sometimes goal. Did you see the difference between this? We are not dealing with activities, resources, outputs. Obviously, all these three are going to contribute towards results realization. But in evaluation, what we look at is particularly results. Okay. Now, where does baseline fit in? By definition, baseline is what? What is the definition of baseline? When we are saying baseline, what is it? Starting point, right? Yes. So where is it starting? Where is the implementation? Here, right? Where is the baseline supposed to happen then? Baseline happens here. Why? Why is baseline not happening here? This is the starting point, you are starting here, right? You said baseline is a starting point. But I am saying baseline happens here and not here. Why is that? Yes, absolutely. It's a pre-intervention scenario. If you invest 1 rupees, that 1 rupees is going to make 1 unit of change. If you invest 100,000 over 1 year, that is also going to make a change. But some change will happen, and that means here what we need is a no implementation scenario. That is why baseline is always pre-intervention. If you do 1 training here, then that means your training will contribute in some manner, right? So this will not be a true, if you do baseline after this, if you do baseline here, you have already done 1 training, that means you will see the effect here. So it will not be a true baseline, right? I can't, for example, let's take this training. I would have done a baseline before I said my name is Priya. That would have been the true baseline. But if I do baseline right now, I won't be able to do a true baseline because you already know what a project is. So if I ask you what project is, you will tell me it's a set of activities implemented with a limited resource and timeline with an objective. Fast. Right? That's not baseline. So that's why what we do is, we always do a baseline here, which is okay. Now tell me, when does end-line evaluation happen? It's a very simple, straightforward answer. If baseline is happening here, when does end-line happen? End-line happens at the end. By the very nature, the name end-line is at the end of the project. What you are talking about is midterm, like intermediate, to look at intermediate results. What we do is, some of the organization, what they do is, they either look at it annually, to see whether what are the annual changes that they're seeing. Some people just do baseline and end line. If it is a 2-year project, there's no need to do a midterm because by the time you're implementing it, you won't be able to see any results. So what you do is you do a baseline and the end of the thing you do an. If you look at this, see, if you look at that diagram, planning of monitoring and evaluation, then you have baseline. You have intervention going on and then you have midterm because this is apparently a long project. So that's why you're doing end line, midterm, and then at the end you do an end line, right? So just remember this. Baseline happens before implementation and evaluation happens after, end line evaluation happens after. If it is a 3-year project, then what happens is we start planning for end line evaluation on the 30th month or 32nd month, so that design happens, and after 36 months or 3 years we collect the data and see what has been the impact of the project. Okay. Now let's talk about any questions? I've been talking quite a bit, but any questions, clarifications that you want at this point in time? Can we do a rapid fire? What did we talk about? The first thing that we talked about today. Yes. Monitoring, that's why I said if a project is live, then you can do monitoring, you can do evaluation. If the project ended, then you can only do something called ex post evaluation. That the project ended 1 year ago, but we have not seen the results, so we plan an end line evaluation. But in that case, we can't do baseline because that ship has already sailed, right? That project has already been implemented. So monitoring evaluation, if you look at this, project closer, before that evaluation happens. Ideally, this is the scenario. There are ex post evaluations that we talk about, which happens 1 year or 6 months after the project ends. But ideally, this is the project cycle, then monitoring as well as evaluation happens within this time frame.
Because there are many projects that management is continuing.
Yeah.
And the monitoring and evaluation process starts with the first phase of the project. So that's where there's a gap. When the project goes on, phase 2, phase 3, then monitoring and evaluation starts at the first phase.
Yeah.
So there I think it fails again. It's all coming back.
Yes. Yeah. So what we do is, I myself am looking at multiple evaluations where your scenario is there. That the first investment was, let's say, 2015 to 2017, right? And then we did an evaluation. 2015 we did baseline. 2017 we did end line. And suddenly 6 months down the line they renewed the project. So there's phase 2. So what we do is we treat the end line as baseline for phase 2, and then go on to monitoring and evaluating according to the timeline. So that's one way of doing it. Other way of doing it is that you consider phase 1 closed, phase 2 as a separate project. So you do baseline there and then do an end line. So there are multiple mechanisms to do that. Any other clarificatory questions? So why do we do M&E? We're talking about M&E, but we have written MEL. Why we do M&E is for the L. That is the logic. Do you understand? Why we do M&E is for the L. L is what? Learning. Right? That is why nowadays nobody uses the term M&E. Everybody uses the term MEL or MLE, monitoring, learning and evaluation. But at the crux of it is learning. with the data that we collect, with all the information that we collect, with all the analysis we are doing, what are we trying to achieve? We want to learn. We want to learn whether there has been a change. We want to learn what is the context in which the change has happened. We want to learn what is going to happen next, right? So L is in the middle of everything. So the first accountability, scalability, benefit, forget about all of these. The first objective of doing a monitoring or an evaluation is learning. What do we learn from this? So the first thing that we are trying to do through monitoring and evaluation is learn. What do we learn? Whether my project succeeded or my project failed. That's a learning for me. Whether I want to continue to phase 2, that's a learning for me, which is coming from the studies that I have done. What elements of my project worked? Whether building infrastructure is the right way to go, whether that showed result, or whether skilling the teachers is the right way to go. Data will show me. That's the learning which I want to continue or discontinue. Right? This is the first thing that MEL or MNE creates is this learning architecture. That is why monitoring and evaluation always comes with learning, MEL. The second is accountability. We talked about resources quite a bit. I have spent X amount of resource on this particular project. The donor will ask you what happened. Accountability lies in the implementing partner or whoever is looking after the project. So the second objective of doing an MEL is whether I have used the resources in the way I was supposed to. That is accountability, right? Whether services are being delivered as per mandate. I am supposed to use this money to build classrooms. Did I use the money to build classrooms, or did I provide free lunches with that money? That's the accountability, basic accountability question there. So monitoring and evaluation actually establishes that accountability. The third is, okay, I have implemented this project in this classroom, within this classroom, right? And I've seen massive results. There are a lot of change that's happening. Can I scale this up to another classroom? Add 100 more people, add 2 more blocks, add 1 more district. What are the learnings that I garner from this particular study, this particular project, using my monitoring and evaluation data, which can help me scale up or replicate my program to other geographies, to other people. Monitoring and evaluation tells you that too. And lastly, benefit by cost. What is my ROI? What is my return on investment? Right? These are the 4 basic principles which guide monitoring and evaluation and learning, of course. So, whenever you are planning for an MEL, these are the 4 things that needs to be kept in mind. If somebody asks you, okay, why do you need monitoring and evaluation? You are just wasting state resources, right? You don't need it. We already know that, we have talked to people, we have seen changes happening. But this is your argument for monitoring and evaluation, that this is why we need. We know there is change, but we don't know whether this change is particularly for that person, that geography, or can it be replicated? Can it go to phase 2? I don't know, this money has been spent. My coffers are empty. I know the money has been spent, but where is my money? Where did my money go? And whether it brought about any change or not. So these are some of the arguments that you have to build for if you are planning for a monitoring, evaluation, and learning. So 4 things to keep in mind: why M&E, learning, accountability, replication, and ROI, return on investment. 1 rupees I spent, what is the investment or what is the return I'm getting? Okay. Just to give you a fact, what do you understand by this chart? Do you see this, India? Do you see this? There are so many evaluations happening in India right now, and it is going to grow. Why? Can somebody give me a reason why there are so many evaluations happening? And it's not quite that. It is because India has so many programs. If you count the program, the schemes that you are looking after right in this hall, there will be so many, right? And all of these specific projects will have evaluations, and it is going to grow. There's a lot of money coming in from government has centrally n number of centrally sponsored schemes. There are state level schemes, state flagship programs. There are philanthropy money coming in. There are multilaterals, bilaterals, US aid of the world throwing money in. And what they want to know? Nothing but this. And for that, you need to do evaluations. That is why this 200 plus study density directly corresponds to the number of interventions that are happening in India and the growing need for monitoring and evaluation. That is why all of us are here today. And that's my bread and butter. If there's no project, there is no evaluation. I'll be like out of job, right? And I think all of us should know the basics of, if tomorrow you are going to be my client, you should know what you are asking for from me. Otherwise, I can easily fool you, yeah? Okay. If you look at the demand for MEL, Amshika is going to take you through specific, ask from the government when we talk about MEL. So there are three kinds of client that we deal with. One is the civil society, grassroots organizations, because they have small scale projects, pilots for, there are pilots and, solutions, innovations that they come up with. So they want to know whether my innovation is working or not. So that's why you need to do assessments, you need to do monitoring, you need to do evaluation, etc. And there is government. Government's primary purpose of doing evaluation is accountability and learning. Where is the money flowing and whether that is going in the right direction that it is supposed to go. Accountability, right? And the third demand for MLE generates from the private sector. Private sector, if you ask me, half of my clients are private sector clients, big money, foundations, right? They want to do something, Bechara India. But, I mean, they also want to, know what is happening with the money that I'm giving. So that is why, especially I talked about the financial inclusion projects that I'm working on. They have big money coming in, flowing in. They want to know what is happening with the money. They don't know in India, they don't know the context. They rely on people like us to do the job, right? And that's the demand from the private sector. Okay, before we go there, let me quickly recap of what we have learned so far. We talked about research, right? Consider research as an umbrella activity within which we have monitoring, evaluation, and we have learning. Learning is germinating from both. Okay? Learning happens because we have 4 things to take care about. We have accountability, we have ROI, the 3 things we have replication or scale. Yeah? There are a couple of things to take care of when it comes to research, a couple of things that we need to take care of. Context, and then what we said, we need data, we need objectives, right? And then we need strategies, we also need resources. All of this forms is an element of a right? All of these things make a project. Now, monitoring, evaluation, learning, this bit particularly is a part of project. No project, no monitoring, no evaluation. Okay? And what else did we talk about? If there's demand from government, demand from civil society, there's the demand from private sector. Okay? And we also talked about having goals and right? Project has a goal and an objective. Evaluation and monitoring assesses the goal. This is the crux that we talked about in the last 1 hour or so. Did we miss out something? Okay. Yeah. Now let's deep dive into this. The other name that we go with when it comes to objective is we have an objective that is also called results. Okay. Now results, like I said, could be immediate, intermediate, and long run. Okay. Immediate results are called outputs. This is called outcomes. What is this called? Long term. Goal. Goal is a notch higher. Right? And then there is a longer thing that I said that we contribute towards is goal. So results will also have 1, 2, 3 layers to it. 3, 4 layers to it. This is something that we can say is because of the project or program. This is something that the project contributes towards. Okay. Now the other topic, I'm switching to other topic, okay, which is important for both project as well as the monitoring evaluation to happen. Have you heard about theory of change? Have you heard about a theory of change? Anyone? Did somebody ask you if you've ever spoken to a researcher or any person, then they would ask you, does your program have a theory of change? Okay, we'll talk about theory of change later. But what we are trying to say here is, if you achieve this, then only you will achieve this, then you will achieve this, and then you will achieve this. Right? Okay, let me go again. Is this clear? There is an input. We talked about resources, nothing but resources. These are activity strategies, implementation strategies. These four are what we call results domain. Okay, so let's take today's training as an example. What are the inputs that has gone into this current training? You, me, people, right? There are equipments. There is this hall. So these are the resources. There's human resource. There is technology that has gone into it. There is infrastructure, right? What are the strategies? There was this formal launch in the morning, and then this lecture kind of a thing happening, training happening. What do you think is the output of this particular training that we're a part of right now? When you walk out of the hall today, you will be what? Trained. And that is the immediate result. Okay? What could be the outcome after 2-3 days? Yeah? You will have more knowledge about what monitoring, evaluation and learning is. Right? So this is like an intermediate result. Impact would be your department will have, let's say, each of your offices will have a M&E plan in place. That is a longer term impact. Right? And the goal would be there is better accountability towards, let's say, SDGs. Okay? All of this are nothing but results. Because you are attending this training, you will be trained, you will have improved knowledge on MEL, you will be able to make an MEL plan for your office, and then because of the evidence that you are gathering as a result of having a monitoring and evaluation plan, you will have better accountability towards the larger goal. Right? This, if you see, has a logic. If you are not trained, then this is all cancelled. Right? If you don't have this, then you will not be able to achieve this. You can't just have this and directly go to this. Right? And you can't also go upwards, like the other way around. There is no logic to that. So whenever you are planning for a monitoring and evaluation, you always need to have all of this, but the results should also have a sequence to it. If people are trained, then if there is improved knowledge. If they have improved knowledge, then they have better monitoring, they can prepare better monitoring plan. If this happens, then there will be better monitoring. So whenever you prepare a monitoring and evaluation plan, this is something that you need to build your plan against. I want you to have a look at this. This is a planning tool. So this is like a fundamental thing that you need to know about monitoring and evaluation, especially in the results domain. There is a hierarchy of results, starting from the basic results, immediate result, to a longer result, and there is always a causal linkage. If I am trained, then only I will be able to know more about. If I'm more knowledgeable, then only I'll be able to make an MEL plan. Right? So there's always this if and then cause, effect, means, and or an end logic. And this is how you define your results. Tomorrow, if somebody asks you to make a monitoring and evaluation plan, this is something that you have to come up with first. Obviously, I mean, you would have to have objective and problems, identify problems, identify solutions, problem solution for that. But after that, implementation comes. But for implementation, you need to define all of this. What are the resources that you're going to invest? Whom are you going to engage with? What are the activities you're going to conduct? What are the results that you're going to see? And what is the impact that you want to create? Okay. So when do we do monitoring and evaluation? This is the answer. It's a very straight, simple. We talked about this. Input, activity, output, outcome, impacts. Input, activity, and output is monitoring. To monitor these. Output, outcome, impacts. These come under evaluation. And process evaluation that I just spoke about. This is a different topic altogether. But process evaluation can capture everything that happens in between this. Okay? Okay, let's do a basic differentiation of what monitoring means and what evaluation means. Let's talk about M. Let's talk about E. And it's already there. If you are tracking activities and resources, it's a concurrent thing. That is why monitoring is a concurrent activity. It is not specific to a time period. We will do it pre-intervention, post-intervention. Evaluation is pre-post and in between, midterm, right? But monitoring is a systematically tracking down of activities, and activities start and end with project start and end. That is why monitoring is concurrent. Every 3 months you can choose to have a monitoring, every 6 months you can choose to have a monitoring. While evaluations, it corresponds to the nature of results. That is why it's a periodic. Okay. So first difference is this is concurrent. This is periodic. Monitoring looks at progress, status. Evaluation looks at results, status. Okay. What does this mean? That monitoring can say, okay, we have spent 60,000 USD now within 6 months, and we have 50,000 more to spend another 6 months, whether we are able to spend that or not, internally looking at it. Results will be, we were supposed to make X percentage change from baseline to endline, whether we did that or not. Right? By that logic, progress status check is always internal. So monitoring is always internal. If you are implementing, you can also monitor. But evaluation is always external. Why? Because you are giving a value judgment to the result. You are saying you passed or you failed. Right? You can't test yourself. That is why evaluation is always external. This is frequent. Since we are talking about progress, this is a frequent activity. This is time bound. Right? This focuses on activity and immediate results, outputs. And this is outcomes and impacts. That's it. If you know these, you know the basics of monitoring evaluation. Okay. So if you have any more questions, I'll be happy to take it. But I have done a lot of talking. I need water, and you need rest and some stretching. So let's do that.